I got this going. Do you want to wait a couple of minutes? It looks like the attendee numbers are kind of stabilized, so.
Yeah, I think that's good. I think we can start. I'm very excited to maybe we'll get through this deck in less than 2 hours. That's our big goal for the day. Like, let's get out of here in an hour, maybe. That would be amazing. And also, thank you for coming. And you have come to the 5 places you'll make money during your Kickstarter launch, or you're listening to this on the replay, or you've done both. And either way, hi.
Hello.
This is also the first time I'm running the deck. So let's, you ready to get started?
I am ready. One thing, if you have a question throughout, we will answer questions throughout. You can go into the Q&A section. Also, the chat is open. Definitely feel free to say hello there. I'm seeing a couple hellos there already. Hello, Cameron Claire. Hello, LS Johnson. We're happy to have you. Hi, Cheryl Phipps.
And we're so excited that we remembered to get the chat set up correctly. It's almost like we've done this enough times that I signed on Shannon. And like I was like, oh, I can already share stuff and like do all the things. It's great.
Hi, Sally.
Hello, hi, Adriel. Everyone. This is amazing. All right. Should we dive in?
Yeah. Are you wanting me to do this section again, and then you'll do the in between slides?
Sure, that sounds good.
All right. Okay, so this talk is the 5 places you'll make money during your Kickstarter launch. I don't know what more to say. Go, you can move it forward. I can't move it forward. So.
All right, and so I am Russell Nolte. I have been publishing for a long time, independently since 2014, and with publishers before then. U.S. a best-selling author. I've now run 25 campaigns with over $400,000, and I do comics and novels and anthologies and audio dramas, as well as working with Monica on nonfiction stuff.
And I'm Monica Leonel. I have been independently publishing since 2009. It does say on Amazon, kind of everywhere though a number of the other wide retailers came online after 2009, so maybe that's why I put that. Also USA Today bestselling author, and I have a couple other pen names, but the one that I'm active in right this minute is Monica Leonel, and then I also have Solo Storm kind of revamping, and that is a fiction pen name that does young adult fantasy, and that's really it. Basically our topics are Kickstarter, wide, and direct sales, and so today we're talking about Kickstarter.
Yes, and how we started working together is in our book, Get Your Book Selling on Kickstarter. You want to talk a little bit about that, Monica?
Yeah, we definitely started out as co-authors of this book. This book came out, it was really part of a series about platforms. And the reason why we created that series was just because we realized that so much around publishing revolves around Amazon. So what I wanted to do is give a single solo book to each platform, so that just to bring awareness to the fact that these platforms, they exist on their own, and you can also do all sorts of cool things and optimizations to make money at them. And so one of them was Kickstarter. Russell has been a Kickstarter expert for many years. He's been using Kickstarter since 2015 to publish all sorts of stuff, but especially novels. And so he was kind of the perfect person to partner with on Kickstarter and a number of other books. And we ended up having 5 books total. So he did a lot of books that are related to the print side of things. And we ended up running this particular book as a Kickstarter itself, which was Russell's brilliant idea. I had never run a Kickstarter. Well, I had never run a real Kickstarter before. I had run one back in 2011 that was kind of just for friends and family. So this was my first Kickstarter, and then Russell decided that we should hit at least 10K, or else it wasn't gonna be a very impressive Kickstarter example for our Kickstarter book. So of course I freaked out about that, but then we ended up raising $21,500 on this campaign for this book. And then when all the totals came in afterwards, we had actually raised 24,000. And so there's, even though the campaign says 21,500, we raised another 2,500 after that, and actually even more just from the Kickstarter still. And so then that doesn't include what happens after a Kickstarter, because a Kickstarter is kind of like you're getting paid to promote. So this book then went on to be one of the, well, the most popular book in that series. And it also kind of morphed one of the reward tiers that was just kind of a throwaway tier that we started with. It morphed into a course about Kickstarter. And so then we've actually, I mean, when I think of like the 20, probably like it was closer to 25,000 now. When I think of the 25,000 that we made from that Kickstarter campaign, what we made afterwards is monumentally more. And I've seen that with that campaign, the current campaign that we ran back in August, that is in fulfillment right now, and even on some fiction stuff, because really, like once you launch it on Kickstarter, you can finish your project, but that is really just the beginning of the life of the thing that you're doing. So Kickstarter is so great for launching. It's also great for reviving and revitalizing backlists. And so we're going to talk about all of that in this presentation.
And what's amazing is since that campaign ended, both of us have had our most successful launches ever. So earlier this year, I did my first $40,000 launch for the third and final book in my Cthulhu is Hard to Spell 3 anthology series. Then I also sold this to a publisher to continue on that series without me. So I did that. And then together we ran this campaign, which even went above that thing. So that previous campaign. And so we've done even bigger and better things since that book really systematized what I and Monica learned in that previous campaign and all the campaigns I'd run before that. And we brought this into, again, having our best year ever on Kickstarter, my best year ever as a publisher. I raised over $100,000 this year on Kickstarter alone. And so we're going to talk today about the 5-part Kickstarter campaign.
All right, so what we're going to be talking about is how you make money in these 5 different parts. The first one is pre-launch. Second one is launch. Third one is the dead zone. Fourth one is the last days. And the fifth one is fulfillment. And so each of these 5 parts, you can do things to optimize your campaign, and it will make you significantly more money as you go through your campaign.
So how we do this generally is if you have questions about any of these sections, we usually stop after the section and we'll go and explain it. I can do a screen share if you need to hear something else, but you can use the chat, but we prefer you use the Q&A, but like we're going to monitor both things for you. And that being said, like let's dig into that first part.
Yeah, so the first part is pre-launch. And you make money in a couple of different ways. One is getting, sorry for the delay, I'm just waiting for it because I have no idea what the slide says. I mean, I probably do. So one is getting backers to your pre-launch page, and we'll show you what that looks like. You can also, Kickstarter gives you a review page, and you can ask your audience to review your page. Russell typically does that before every single campaign. And then the biggest thing for pre-launch is really around building excitement. What you want to do is you want to make a lot of money on the first day. You ideally want to fund on the first day, but you really just want to make sure that your audience is ready to show up on the first day of your Kickstarter campaign, because that is going to determine the momentum of the rest of the campaign. And so we usually recommend about a month of pre-launch marketing to create that excitement. And then we'll talk a little bit more about that.
Yeah, so usually we have like month one is like building your campaign, then pre-launch of your campaign, and then launch, and then fulfillment.
Yeah.
And by using that strategy, the average for Kickstarter on the publishing platform is 36% success rate. And by using the strategy that we're going to talk about, optimizing, we have like a 99.8% success rate. So almost every campaign that we've started has gone on to success. And the average campaign raises $5,000 in our program. From like the average student raises $5,000. If you include all of our experts, that number is higher. Okay, so let's talk about pre-launch. So after you're done setting up your campaign and getting it approved by Kickstarter, you can launch. You can activate one of these pages, which is your pre-launch page, and it's really simple. It basically has the title, the log line, the image, and then notify at launch. So there's not a lot here, and by bringing people to this page, you can kind of see really how, just like in a gut instinct, how quickly they are to sign up for your page. You can see there's all sorts of numbers from 118 to 50 to 1600. But I want to draw your attention over here to this one that says the Bennett Sisterhood romance novels plus tarot deck, because one thing that people always ask about is how long can you have your page up? And while we usually recommend a month, Monica, I'd love to ask you a little bit more about this particular page, because you've had it up for considerably longer than that.
Yeah, I think I got it up in maybe end of August, maybe early September, somewhere around there, because the goal was to launch this in October for Witchstarter. It might have even been earlier than that, but I wasn't able to do that. And so I will probably launch this in February, I'm hoping, but we'll see. But yeah, you can have it up for a long time. My other one that I did for a different series, a different novel series, I had it up in December and I didn't launch it until May. So that was 6 months. The good thing about this, so I actually checked this today. I was just looking on Kickstarter for romance novels and looking for, examples of romance books that had been on Kickstarter. And it was interesting because this project came up as one of the top ones. And so I just want to say, like, this project, I haven't even marketed it to my list yet because I don't know when I don't know when I'm going to launch. So it's not easy to then market it aside from like, hey, a Kickstarter project's coming soon. But this project has over 200 followers already. And I think a lot of it is because it has really good keywords. So I think it's the keywords. I think it's like tarot deck, of course, they are very popular on Kickstarter. So having that really helps. But then, and then it's like a Jane Austen retelling. So there's some keywords around that. But I really think that romance novel has probably helped it as well, because that, like, when I went to the site, that's why I typed in, and this one came up like toward the top. So it's very valuable to think about your keywords, basically.
Yeah, and one thing that we teach you in the course is how to optimize your keywords. But more than that, we actually have a repeat of our 5-day challenge, which we did a little bit earlier, I think the end of last month. But because of RAM and because of 20 books, we decided to run it again. So if you want to kind of learn a little bit about how to really set this up, you can go to kickstartyournovel.com/challenge and sign up for that as well.
There's a question. Can we answer this question real quick? So somebody asked, do you need to set a launch date when you set up your campaign? The answer is basically no. Until you go live, you do not have to set a launch date. I mean, like, literally, you can give like an estimated date, but like, you don't have to finalize any of that until you actually launch. And you'll notice on the pre-launch page, there is no launch date. It doesn't say coming on this date, which I think is both like a good thing and like also to some extent a bad thing. Like I wish that those people knew when it was coming, just so they could prepare for it. But yeah, so you do not need that. You really just need to get your you need to get your project through Kickstarter's approval, and that is really what is most important for that. And then everything else can be modified up until the couple seconds before you launch, basically, and then that's when it all happens. All right.
Yeah, there's one more thing that I should mention on this. Like Kickstarter will not automatically launch yours for you, so you have to launch it yourself. So that is a question I always get asked. People are like, why didn't my project launch? Because they're used to Amazon doing it,
Yeah,
and
you
like they
cannot.
just yeah, it just will not do that. Okay, so this leads to a couple of questions people ask. Okay, well, like how many project followers should I get, and like how much money can I expect there? So the first answer to that question is we've done a lot of modeling on this and seen a lot of campaigns. And I know this is a long range, but 100 pre-launch followers generally leads to somewhere between $5,000 and $15,000 when you use our system. Now, that part of that includes like the value stack that you put on, the premium rewards, and what kind of project that it is, and how much your core reward is. So like a drone that is like $500 is going to have a lot more from 100 backers than someone who's doing a book. Comics generally sell more than novels, and then anthologies even more than that. So you can sort of, I think a good baseline for like a single novel, and also if you do a series of novels, it's different as well. We had about 100 and so or 120 pre-launch followers, and we went just over $5,000 for this campaign that you're looking at right now. I think a good model would be 100 pre-launch followers, at least 50, and you can, and that will give you a sort of baseline for probably about $5,000 is what you would get with 100 pre-launch followers. I think that I feel comfortable saying that that's like a good average. You may be lower or higher, but and this isn't like, oh, well, if I have 25, I should reach 50, a fourth of that, which is like $1,250 or something like that. It's not like the bell curve doesn't work like that. Like when you're modeling something, I really do think that you can do like 100 for 5,000, but for 50, you might get to 3,000 or 1,000. Like there's just a wider variation there. So I think a good number is 100, but we have seen a lot of people in our campaigns launching at 25 backers or 25 followers or 50 followers and doing a lot better than 5,000 as well. But people always ask me sort of for the range. And so that's what we give. That's what I would generally say. And then once you have those numbers, you can generally expect between 20 and 40% conversions, which means people who follow converting into backers. If you go much higher than 40%, it usually means that you could be expanding your reach out. It means you're not getting enough new cold traffic, like new fans just coming into your universe. If you go much lower than 20%, it probably means that there's a problem with your rewards or your page or your marketing or something that is confusing people so that they're not backing. But if you're doing this in like the right range, I mean, usually we see somewhere between like 28 and 32%, but we do see as low as 20 and as high as 40 on average. But most of mine end up right around 30%. And then we also we talk about sort of how you get all of this conversion. And so we say that there's a month that you should be promoting it. And here's sort of like a standard what I put out in the month before a campaign. Week 1 is sort of the announcement. Then I do something, even now with 25 campaigns, I say, what is Kickstarter? And I sort of explain what Kickstarter is, maybe put another different kind of thing that I found, another project that they could check out. That Monica talked about the seeing the preview page, which is different from the pre-launch page. The preview page is actually all of the text and rewards and such, but people can't back yet. So getting your fans to tell you if maybe there's something you're missing, and then finally I'll do like an early bird announcement, and that's the sort of 4 weeks before a launch that we do. And this is the preview page. So remember, we talked about pre-launch page is that little page. This preview page is where you can actually get comments, notes about things that are going right and wrong in your campaign, especially from your existing fans who are going to tell you if you've missed anything or if they're confused. And if they're confused, for sure, someone else is going to be confused when they come to your page. And just overall, the big question you're trying to ask on this pre-launch page is there interest? So a lot of things are going to be important to do at this stage. You're going to be able to see, wow, I sent one email and 50 people 50 people followed. Well, there's probably a lot of interest. Like, there's probably a pretty good page if I'm sending something and 50 or 100 people or 25 people even are signed up to follow. And it's going to be different depending on how many people are on your page. I usually say if I can do 4 emails and I get 50 potential backers or followers a week, then I'm doing a good job. If not, then I need to do something different. You're going to see how fast those followers come in. You're going to see how many of them come in overall. And then you're going to be able to do things like maybe your campaign has a lot more followers than you thought. Maybe you want to extend that campaign out. Maybe you want to add more days. Maybe you want to add more marketing. Or on the opposite side, maybe you don't have a lot of people interested and you may want to either cut that campaign or push it off for a month or some other thing. So all of these are going to help you optimize for that first tranche of when you actually hit that launch button.
So quick question here, though. I think you have a pre-established audience. So 50 followers a week well, it's not really a question. You probably wouldn't expect that if you are new to the platform, I wouldn't say, unless you had
it depends if you have, the nice thing about Kickstarter is that when you follow, it means that you have an account already. But, if you have 10,000 people on your email list, which we met people at RAM that had 100,000 people on their email list, 50 might be like a very low number. You might have people with 100 people on your email list. And then yes, like 50 is probably abnormal of what you would expect of 100 people on your email list. You might have no email list and just following on social media and such, and then it probably will be even harder unless you have a big audience on that platform. So that the 50 is my number, but your number is going to vary, and again, it might be much higher, it might be much lower, but by establishing what that number is, then you're going to be able to sort of see how much more marketing you have to do in order to get to the number you want. And, I would say I probably wouldn't launch with less than 25 followers on my page, because you want some velocity when you launch. But we have seen people launch with 10 or even less than 10 and still have a pretty good campaign, especially when they have a small audience.
Yeah, I've definitely seen people launch with less than 50 followers and still hit $6,000 or $7,000. So it is possible. This is just kind of the first point of capture. And obviously you want to have many, many points of capture, but this is kind of, it really is just like your first introduction to, for your readers to Kickstarter.
Did we answer this one from Sally yet?
Nope, it just popped up.
Kickstarter is geared toward existing followers, not attracting new readers. Not necessarily. You are going to be driving a lot of people to the platform. That's where the initial seed is going to get. But we're going to talk in the next section about about how you get found on the platform and all of the cool ways that Kickstarter does promoting for you. But in general, like, you're going to need to seed the platform with the first tranche of people so that you get found more in the first week, which again, we're going to talk about soon. But I would say every campaign I get dozens of new people who've never backed my campaigns and aren't on my email list. Would you say that's accurate, Monica?
Well, so I don't know about your campaigns,
Well,
but
your campaigns, the campaigns you've run.
so I'm newer to the platform. So for my campaigns, I would say that at least 50% of the people are new to me, like they're not coming from my list. But definitely it's still very important to seed your campaign with people who are interested. And yes, from your email list, or if you don't have, like, sometimes people are like, I don't have a huge email list. And it's like, there's not really any getting around that you are going to have to build your audience and connect with potential readers. But I mean, you can do like audience, or you can do like list building activities to get people to your Kickstarter campaign. I know I did a giveaway for one of them, and it got and it was a very targeted giveaway. Like, you would not join this if you didn't like me on some level, or like want to, take my program or whatever. But I think that giveaway alone got another 100 followers, and the conversion was really, really good on it. So there are ways to, if you don't have an email list, there are ways to get an email list going and then send people to the campaign.
Yeah, absolutely. I used to do viral building sort of strategies for authors, and one of the things that people always did was have people click on this page, either follow their page overall or follow
Or like BookBub or Amazon.
Yeah, for like BookBub. Instead of doing BookBub or Amazon, like, you could send people to this page to notify a launch, or follow your creator.
Yeah, that's what I did. So and it worked really well.
And then someone says, I'm getting mine ready, but it makes you set dates for everything. I mean, you have to set how many days you think it's going to go, but you don't have to set a date for when you're going to launch. You can choose to set it to be 5 days or 10 days or 50 days.
But also you can change it.
Yeah, and you can change
just
it.
Put a number in if you don't know. You can change it up until the few seconds before you launch.
Yep, and it does not launch automatically for you, even if you do put a time.
Mm-hmm.
All right, cool. So let's go to launch week, Monica.
All right, we'll talk about launch week. Boy, this slide all the way. I don't know what's coming up. So launch week, there are a couple different ways you make money. One is that it can be important to fund on the first day. It's a little different for comics. You can be a little, because they tend to need to raise more, and other types of projects as well. But I think for a book or like a publishing project, it can be really helpful to fund on the first day. And there's not a huge reason for most authors to not make that a potential goal, because typically we're not having to raise a lot of money. We just want to raise a lot of money. There are only a couple projects that I've seen where it's like, wow, that person really did need like $5,000 or else they can't do this. And so in those cases, a couple, like, funding within the first week, like that type of goal makes a lot of sense, or like giving yourself more time to fund. But for a lot of the people we see, $500 as a first goal outing is pretty good, or like $500 per book, I think, is our like official recommendation. So the other thing is hitting funding markers throughout the week. So understanding the trajectory of the Kickstarter launch curve. And I think Russell's going to show that. There are two things that you can do in the publishing space. One is getting the projects we love, and then there's project of the day. That can make you a little bit more visible within the Kickstarter ecosystem. Also, Kickstarter has its own email list and sends out to its larger list of backers and users on the platform. So that can be really helpful for you. Using stretch goals, backer rewards, flash goals, and more. So really knowing what each of those are, which we may not be able to get into all of that because it's just very advanced. or get into it at the same depth, but like knowing when to use them, when to not use them, and how they can kind of like either fuel, push your project forward when it's in trouble, or also just fan the flames if it's going well. And then what I kind of just said, how to pace your marketing efforts, because you really have, like for any platform, you have a launch curve that is ideal for the algorithms, and then you have like your marketing efforts and your ability to send traffic. And so being able to kind of match those up nicely is a big part of launch week.
Yep. Okay. So this is a website called KickTrack, which you can use to look at any campaign that was successful or unsuccessful, how much they raise per day, their progress. It shows all sorts of like information about how many backers they got a day, how many comments per day. And this is a pretty standard launch curve of what you're going to look for in a Kickstarter campaign. You can see in that first few days, it's going to start high and then sort of trickle down. You're going to sort of settle at an average daily backer, and then you're going to shoot up at the end as people have a last chance to back. And we're going to talk about each of these sections. But right now, what's really important is starting well, because when you settle down into where your average is, and you can see the average kind of right here in the dotted line, the average is going to be higher if you launch better, because you're going to be more visible. You're going to be more visible on the platform. You're going to just have, it usually projects that there's more interest in your campaign. It tickles the algorithm more, and you're just going to get more people every single day of the campaign until the end. Our platform, the system that we have developed seems to be the one that, or at least one that Kickstarter really likes, because our students have a very high propensity for getting a project we love and project of the day. These are things that are determined by individual people. So, and they're generally given, we just had a call with Oriana recently, and like they're generally given to people that, are following this process that Kickstarter likes to see, and giving the information and making the kind of projects that Kickstarter really likes. As we talked about, as Monica talked about before, the better you can do in that first week is the more you're going to be found. So for instance, if you look at the top left image here, you can see you can sort by all sorts of things when you're searching this for backers. One of them is project we loved, trending, nearly funded, just launched, upcoming projects, which is why you want to start so well, because if they're clicking on just launch, you want to be at the top of that just launched algorithm. And then you can see here's a project on the top right of me getting project we love. The bottom one is project of the day. But you can also see these sort of recommendations on the right-hand side. These are projects that Kickstarter is recommending. And the better your project is doing, the more it's adhering to what Kickstarter wants, the more backers you're getting, the more likely you are to get notified to be in this sort of tranche over here. There's a bunch of ways actually that Kickstarter brings people into the ecosystem, and the better you do on launch week, the more you're going to be found, like in the top left when the recommendations. This is the main page, the main publishing page. So the more chances you have to not only get project of the day, which is the one that says Seymour and the Whale, but on the right, the more chances you are to be recommended by their engine. In the top right, at the bottom of every Kickstarter page, if you scroll to the bottom, they also have recommendations. On the bottom left, when they send out emails after you've backed, they have recommendations. Kickstarter also sends newsletters for what is like cool and hot in the publishing category. And then on the bottom right, you can see once someone has backed, they also get recommendations. So there are all these ways that you can, that if you launch well, Kickstarter is going to be found for you. And just like with Amazon, there's algorithmic stuff that you can do to make you more attractive to both the people who are picking the campaigns and the algorithm at large. Do we have any questions about that before I move on? Okay, so while the first section was about getting interest. The second part of this is about your page converting into sales. And remember, we talked about that 20 to 40% conversion percentage for followers. Well, there's a whole lot of things that could prevent people from backing. We see it all of the time. People that are mostly tends down to either someone who hasn't made a compelling value stack, or more likely, people are confused by the way that you put your campaign together. So oftentimes it's not even about the quality of the product. It's about the presentation of the product. And authors very often are great at making books. I mean, that's what we do in putting words together, but they're not as good at the marketing part of this. And so really what our program does more than anything is just show you how to be clear and concise and make sure that everything is going into place. It's sort of like if you're running advertising now on Amazon, you would say, oh, well, my ad is not getting clicks. Okay, well, like though there's a set of problems there that relates more to the pre-launch page. You know, your image, your headline, your copy is wrong. If you're getting clicks and not converting, then there's a whole nother set of problems about the blurb or the cover or the look inside that like you need to change. And in that same way, we're really testing how your page is converting here and then making changes based on that to make sure that when someone comes to your page, they get all the information they need, that you're attracting the right people, that you're being recommended with the right campaigns, and then making sure that you have all the tools in place to get all of the sales that your project deserves.
All right, let's talk about the dead zone. So this is the less fun part of the campaign, unless you know what we're about to tell you, which is that during the dead zone, the way that you make money is that you are either going to want to change your message, your main message of your campaign. You'll want to change the offer. And so while that sounds strange, it's really that you have different reward tiers and you have lots of different offers. So it really, what we mean by that is really pushing a different offer, like making a different offer the focus of your messaging. And then the third thing is changing your audience. So doing cross promotion with other authors, going to secondary channels, you know, maybe you have a couple social media channels that you don't normally update, or maybe you have a broader email list, or maybe you have a pen name that has an email list, and you know that like not a ton of people are going to cross over, but some might. That's often a good thing to do. And so I want to answer this question here. The dead zone is if you're not converting. No, not really. What happens is, and I think we'll look at this, or we've looked at some of this already. There we go. So I'll let Russell talk about this. Basically, well, yeah, go ahead.
So the dead zone is when your campaign slows down considerably. Now, I think this is where our program excels. Like so many things you can find, like there are free Facebook groups and such, especially they talk about launch or like looking at your page and being good, but like almost nowhere talks about this part of the campaign and actually the most effective ways to move your campaign along and keep the people up in the dead zone, because a dead zone could start if you look at the top image on day 3, or
Right.
if you have a more if you use some of the strategies we talk about, you can find that going to 5, 6, 7. I think we had like a 12 days in the last campaign before we really saw that dip.
Yeah, we did.
And then but like it's this middle area sort of after day, it's usually about day 5. Like we show you how to bring it through at least day 5, which is usually the first week of a campaign. There are ways to get it, but you're going to find it eventually. You might find it like this campaign day 2.
Right. I think that's the most important thing to say is like, it's inevitable that a launch drops off, because you can only be, this is new for so long before it becomes old. And so at that point, that is when you'll hit the dead zone. You can have a very short campaign and avoid the dead zone. Or, you know, again, like Russell was saying, on our last campaign that we did together, we went to like day 9 or day 10 before we hit a dead zone. And that is because like the two of us together are very good at this, but you know, we can, and we can show you how to do that. Maybe not, you probably won't get to day 10, or you might not get to day 10, but we try to teach you how to get to day 5 at least.
Yeah, and you can see if you have the higher you get at the beginning, the higher you settle as well. And if you can get a really good launch week, there'll be more interest and more and the algorithm will be kicking you into more and more places to bring you more and more backers throughout the course of the campaign. You can see that this dead zone settled at the lowest $300 for this campaign. It was really, I think, well, that's a very big high average per day, but the middle probably like $500 or $600. And that all becomes really important, because if this campaign at the top had made $25 each day and more each day instead of all of these zeros, you're looking at the potential for $1,000 more, $2,000. And it's pretty, you know, there's a lot of literature on the how to have a better launch and how to have a better end. Like Kickstarter is set up for those two parts to help you, but this middle could be a third or even more of your funding. I mean, in our first campaign, we had a third of our funding come from the middle, which means $7,000 that first week, $7,000 that last week, but $7,000 in the middle of that campaign. And if you can figure out how to do this dead zone part really well, you could add thousands to your campaign. And
Yeah.
and so often we'll have someone in our group that's like, okay, dead zone happens, like, what do I do now? And we're like, well, like, now it's time to go to part 3 of the thing that's all about the dead zone. And we'll see somebody like start at $500 or $600 or $700 and then end up, we have someone right now who, like, after 2 days was like, oh my God, the dead zone, like, I'm not getting any backers. And we talked about a couple of strategies, we showed them, and they ended up, I think they're at like $3,500 or $3,600 now after like 2 more weeks, because this kind of stuff you do in the middle can be really, really, really helpful to getting that money that you need by the end. And the more people that you have at the middle of your campaign, if you're continually bringing followers in, it means that there's going to be more people at the end to give you an even bigger jolt at the end.
Yeah, I want to say something about that, because we look at a lot of these campaigns on KickTrack, both of us do. But I would say, like, what I see most often is like day 1, what you launch at is often your highest day. Like, that's something that should be said. Day 2 tends to be about half of that if you're doing it well. And then day 3, it starts to kind of trail off. And then if you don't do, like, if you do just kind of like an okay dead zone, then your last day will be often about half of your first day. But if you do a great job during the dead zone, then your last day will be almost the same as the first day. And so we see like kind of those trajectories as well. And of course, like, so yeah, like what I mean, Russell already said this, but like, dead zone is so important to like stacking people for stacking backers for the last day. I do think we should answer this question about well, there's a question about dead zone in general. There's also a question about if backers get upset with changes in offers. So no, they don't. So when you launch your campaign, you have all your reward tiers on the side. And so let's say you have 10 reward tiers. So you're not changing any of those reward tiers. And you often, like, if someone backs,
let me show you, because we have,
yeah, go ahead.
Like, we have actual, like, so this is what we're talking about changing the messaging. I'll go to change the offer, because that's what we're talking about. So when we say change the offer, what we mean is the first thing we're first going to talk about is the book. Hey, the book is here. The book is great. Like, buy the book. But by the 2nd or 3rd week of your campaign, people are going to be like, I get it, there's a book. So you're going to have to change which of your reward tiers you're focusing on. So in the middle of our campaign on the left, the Get Your Book Selling a Kickstarter campaign, we stopped really talking about the book and started talking specifically about like our Sprint With Us tier, which was our higher end tier. You can see the book on the right. I started talking about the one book, the new book in the series, but I then moved to another tier after that, which was talking about getting all 4 books and getting the collection together and seeing how they all like are like part of one continuous sort of like look and feel. So we're not saying you're changing the reward tiers. We're saying you're changing what you're focusing on in your offer. Is that about what right, Monica?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, and then the first one that we talked about was changing the offer. And if that doesn't make sense, like let us know in the Q&A or in the chat, because we do want to make sure you understand, like you are not going to be saying, oh, this book is $10. Nope, now it's $5. Nope, now it's $8. We're saying you get the book, and that's like what you focus on first. And then there's another reward that's probably a more inclusive or high-end tier that you start talking about after that. And so this is changing your message. So in the top left, what people usually do is they say, hey, the book is live, the book is live, the book is live, the book is live. But people are like, oh, it's a horror book. So one of the things that we do with change your messaging is saying, well, here's what it's really about. Here's what this thing, here's what we really talk about. Here's some tropes that we really focus on, things that people don't necessarily know at the beginning of the campaign. And also, another thing that we do with change the messaging is what's called a sideways sales letter, which is we put all of the pieces of your campaign like in like an email or social media sequence so people can see all of the pieces because you're not going to scroll down. Also, you can see the top middle was more like people didn't know there was in our last big campaign, people didn't know that there was a fourth volume. So I felt the need to tell people specifically, there is a brand new volume of this book. Focusing on characters who aren't the main character is the top left. I am not too proud to use my birthday as a way to guilt people into like maybe taking a look at my campaigns. There's another way that I use it. We also do things like, so the middle bottom is a thing that people say about my work all of the time, which is the books make me feel like I have agency in a chaotic world. It's just highlighting things that come out of reviews, and then also objection handling. And all of these things are ways to sort of change your messaging throughout the campaign. I saw you laughing over there, Monica. Did you see? Is there something you wanted to add?
No.
All right.
For guilt birthday
Yeah.
messages.
Absolutely. I mean, almost every author I know has a birthday book that they put out. So like I do too. I just happen to launch it usually on Kickstarter. All right. And then the final thing is change your audience, which is all about, as Monica said, like finding either new platforms or new people to get in front of. So one of the things we show you how to do in the course is to do these backer swaps. I do on big campaigns, upwards of 50 to 80 of them during a campaign. And the more you do, like the longer your campaign needs to be. And we talk about all of that as well, about the length of your campaign. For instance, on the book we just did, I did 0 of them. I just did like to my own audience. And so I did 0. On the one before that, I wanted the most, I was trying to maximize the amount of money, and I did a 38-day campaign and did something like 50 or 80 of those. So the messaging, so at the top left, you'll see this is actually what a backer swap looks like. In a campaign, you arrange it with another campaign, just kind of like a newsletter swap where you're both talking about each other's books. But also I decided in the middle of our Ichabod campaign to stop talking about the horror aspect of it and really focus on the fantasy to try and bring in a brand new audience. So it's not just like going and finding new places, new cold audiences. It's also saying, oh, I've been talking about the horror aspect of this a lot. Like, I'm going to focus on the fantasy aspect, or I'm going to focus on the empowerment aspect, or I'm going to focus on whatever universally fantasy it is, or some other part of it to bring more people from your audience who may not be your core audience into the campaign.
Can I say something really quickly about this? Because this is a huge change from how we think about our books on retailers. And you really can. So like on retailers, you have to be, something super specific, like steamy sports rom-com, or, you have like all these sub niches, and you can only be like the intersection of those 3 sub niches. But on Kickstarter, you can broaden it. So for example, I have a young adult contemporary fantasy about angels as one of my previous Kickstarters. And really, I could swap with anyone who was doing fantasy. I could also swap with people doing sci-fi. I could also swap with like steamier stuff. I could swap with a little bit of more like horror-y stuff. It's just a platform where people are very individualized, and they're not they read like widely, basically. And I believe, this is like a side note, I believe that people who read on retailers also read widely, but algorithms are designed to show your book as like an easy yes to different readers. So they're like, hey, there's a steamy sports romance reader that has bought several steamy sports romance books. So I would like to show your steamy sports romance book to them, and kind of like to only them. Like Amazon's not like, and I want to show it to like this fantasy comp. Like they really try to give their audience what they want based on data. And so I just wanted to say that, because you like, even if you're like the only romance book on there or the only cozy mystery book on there or whatever it is, you can cross swap with so many other genres. It's just wider, and you can also cross swap with other projects. It doesn't even have to be a novel or in the publishing space. So it could be a comic, it could be a deck, it could be a RPG, it could be so many different things.
Absolutely. And so often we have people come to the platform being like, oh, there's not enough of X thing. And we always tell them there's going to be people that are not in that intersectionality that like your books. And no one believes us until they actually do it. And they're like, oh yeah, people are trained by Amazon specifically, because I think the other algorithms are a little bit better at this, but like Amazon very specifically. And they're like, oh, my readers only read Y thing. And we're like, well, let's try it. And then they actually do the process, and they're like, wow, like people really do read more widely than I give them credit for. And because also bots are not a thing, like, and things are only on Kickstarter for a maximum of 60 days, just like that churn makes it easier to find people who are going to be looking for a wider collection of things. Looks like we have a couple of questions. Are they relevant to?
Yeah, when's the dead zone question? Steve Peterson.
So asks, during the dead zone, does it make sense to try and get backers to move up to higher pledge levels? Absolutely, it does. That's something we are going to talk about specifically in, I think the next section is last days, and we'll show you kind of how to do that. But 100%, a lot of the people that are going to be a lot of the money you make towards the end of your campaign and into the dead zone is people upgrading, not necessarily always finding your campaign. So for sure, you do need both things, but that's why when we talk about our program, talk specifically about how to stack the value so people want to move up to bigger rewards.
And the reverse, because people can unback at any time during your campaign. And so that's why we use a lot of, and Russell's going to talk about this too in the next section, but that's why we use like stretch goals and all this other stuff, bonuses, rewards, because it really keeps people locked in, because they're like, well, if I decide to unback, then I will not get the bonuses, or I will not get this. And so same with like early bird tiers, stuff like that. So the dead zone to me is also about like, how can I keep people who are there, make sure they stay there. And a lot of that is continuing to add bonuses and that sort of thing as the campaign goes on.
Yes, and then there is a question about shipping. What do you do about shipping? Estimates for international. I'll answer it now because it's pretty easy. I mean, we have 2 shipping calculators that we'll talk about when we talk about the actual program, but also UPS, USPS, and Pirate Ship is what I use now to estimate shipping. Do a really good job of estimating rates. Their simple export rate has made things about 50% cheaper than they were even a year ago. So yeah, I mean, you have to do a budget, and that budget has to be really good. And we have multiple budget calculators, one from Monica, one from me, that like help you get your rewards and your shipping costs right. But for sure, the 2 biggest things that kill a campaign are international shipping and stretch goals. Those are the 2 ways that you will get in the red. And just like there are optimizations to make you make more money, there are definitely de-optimizations. I don't actually know what word I should use there. I guess I'm just gonna coin de-optimizations that will make you lose money as well.
Yes.
Awesome. Okay, so let us talk about the last days.
All right, the last days of your campaign, it's basically, I would say, it definitely starts at the like 48 hours before your campaign ends, because Kickstarter actually sends out an email at that point, and they also send out an email, I believe it's at 8 hours. But I would say like it starts even a little bit before that. So maybe 4 days before your campaign ends, 3 days before your campaign ends. And so what you're doing on the last days is you are basically just using this huge psychological trigger of a deadline to get people into the campaign finally, because there are a lot of procrastinators in this world. I am one of them. And so I understand the procrastinators, but they definitely want to back your campaign. They just haven't done it yet. So what you want to do here, upgrading people to higher tiers, we've started to talk a little bit about that. Bringing stragglers in and doing so by addressing objections. So I think at the beginning of your campaign, a lot of the work is around creating excitement for the product. And then as the campaign goes on, in the dead zone, in the last days, you need to figure out, well, what is keeping so-and-so from not backing, and can I address that objection? Like, can I call it out? Can I help them through like a mindset shift so that they are unblocked and then they can back the campaign? And so then both of us really like to do one last big surprise. So that can be like an extra stretch goal or like the last stretch goal. But basically this is a time when there is, once again, a lot of news about the campaign. So at the beginning of the campaign, it's like, hey, like, we launched and then we funded and then we hit this goal, and then there's like a lot of kind of a flurry of news and attention. And during the last days, we really encourage you to create the same thing, like, hey, it's ending, hey, we have one more surprise, we have one more stretch goal, we're very close, and kind of keep regenerate that excitement, and then basically push through to the end of the campaign.
Yeah, and it's really is that one last push. All right, let's one last push to get us over this hump, and then like we'll be done, and you'll get another cool thing. So we talk about last days. You'll see this is one of our books. This is the Kickstarter book again, but like you see this like big ramp up at the end. It wasn't just new backers, though there were certainly new backers. It was also people adjusting to new pledge levels, to coming in for certain things, for finally saying, a lot of people come in for like $1 or $10 and then be like, no, I've thought about this for 2 weeks and now I want like the whole enchilada. We talked about how one of our friends did a campaign that we launched and like we both came in at like a reasonable level, and then like were quickly talked to people and then are now at unreasonable, at what some people might consider like 20 times more than the original level that I came in at, like is where I'm at now. Because we thought about it and talked to other people, and we're really like excited about it. So here's just a sort of example of what you can do for this is the last chance, like come in here. We have a mastermind, which currently at this time is on Sunday. By the time we do this again, it will be like in the past, which will be very weird because you've been doing this same, like I put this together a couple of months ago. But this is for a mastermind. It was a $2,000 mastermind that went up to $3,000 after the campaign. And we talked about like why it was worth it to like join us there, what masterminds mean. And it was like a little sequence we ran to show people like why it's worth it. Here are some objection handling things, like some things that I had heard, and most of us who've been around for a while have heard like 1,000 objections about our books. And if you haven't, you probably could just look up like any Goodreads in your genre and find 100 like objections that you can overcome throughout the course of your campaign. And then this is what we consider sort of like a final big surprise, which is I had a campaign for issue 5. We had not reached our funding goal. And so I went back to people and said, hey, I'm going to release this last reward, which is a physical copy of issue number 6. And like you can upgrade to it if you want for these things. And like we ended up having us go from about 14,000, which was below the goal that we had, to like 17,000, close to 17,000, and actually like get over that last hump. And like but like one thing I also want to say is Kickstarter is really good at sharing your like the end of campaigns. I always think, oh, well, we're done. Like we're not going to get a bunch of things. And like literally every time within like 20 minutes of funding, I'll get like $200 or $300 more. The last one I just ran, I was right under $5,000. And I was like, man, like I like nice round numbers. I had in my head $5,000 we were going to hit. Like, I know we did great. We're like 4,900. And then sure enough, like in that last hour, we got pushed over. And I was like, how? I did no marketing in that last hour. So it had to come from Kickstarter sharing the campaign. Maybe people reading my last email, maybe somebody like getting in at the last minute, but a lot of it is like campaigns that are about to end and Kickstarter pushing it out to people who followed the whole campaign, which is why it's so important to have to throughout the campaign keep gathering people who are interested so Kickstarter can market them even at the last days, even at the last minute. Like literally I've had people in the last 10 minutes do it.
I like, but one of my campaigns, it was a fiction campaign. I literally had somebody in the very last minute do it. I was like I had somebody at the 3-minute mark and somebody at like probably got it in like within seconds of it closing. And I was like, this is so crazy. I've never seen anything like that. But yeah, and like Kickstarter does end it automatically and you cannot change it really in any way. So keep that in mind too. So
yes, Kickstarter will not start your campaign for you, but they will assuredly end it for you. 100%.
No changing it. The person will not get it if they get in after the computer ends it. So
I actually had one time where Kickstarter messed up for a day and they did extend my campaign by 1 day to make up for it. But like that was an extreme example, and that's happened one in close to 30 campaigns. All right, so now let's talk about the final step, which is fulfillment. And we can make sure to ask your questions here about literally anything. Then we'll tell you a little bit about how we can help you as well.
Yes. So fulfillment, the way you make money. The first one is failed pledges. So as after the campaign ends, that's when Kickstarter tries to charge the cards. And like anything, if you have a card on file for like up to a month or really up to 2 months, then it's possible your card has changed or like your bank is weird or whatever. So failed pledges is a big one, and you can go in and look at your failed pledges. We have lots of strategies on how you can recoup those. Survey optimizations, Russell's going to talk a lot about that. He's been doing a ton of great experiments with that, but basically after the campaign ends, you're supposed to send out a survey to collect data on fulfillment data for your backers. And so you can put lots of like upsells and bumps and all sorts of stuff in your surveys to increase that. Add-ons is a big one. So you can have add-ons in your Kickstarter campaign, both during the campaign and later on. We both use a fulfillment service called Backer Kit. You can also, I don't think you can do this through Kickstarter surveys, but Backer Kit allows people to add stuff to their campaign or to their funding total. And actually a lot of backers do this. Lots of backers will, back a project immediately at like $1. And then once the campaign ends, they will just pick up all the things they want in it. And sometimes that's for money reasons. Sometimes it's just for convenience, like they don't have time to look at the campaign, but they know they want to back it eventually. The pre-order store, you can put that up. And I would say we have one of our pre-order stores was up for like months and months until I finally took it down, but it literally like is always still getting orders. If it's up and if people can find the link, it is getting more orders. Another thing is the private message from the audience. So sometimes people who know you will just be like, I missed your campaign. Can you get me in? And you can decide if you want to do that. So you could take money through PayPal or Venmo or cash or whatever to get that tier sold, basically.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's talk about failed pledges. So here's a bunch of failed pledges for one of my campaigns. And people have have 7 days to fix their pledges before Kickstarter cancels their pledge. And then like you have to find some other way to get their money. Monica has a bonkers story about how much money she was able to recover on a campaign. Do you want to tell that story really quick, Monica? Because
oh my gosh, it like,
is
okay,
amazing.
so one of our campaigns ended and it was like 20% of the campaign was not there because of error pledges. I think it was somewhere
like
around 8,
something like that.
Yeah, it was like something like $8,000. And so that was stressful, but we did the process that Russell taught me and that we teach in the program, and we recouped basically all of it. We were down to, I think it was officially like $64 was the end of the error pledges, which is great. And so the other thing I'll say is, even if you don't get the error pledges in those first 7 days, you can still get them even after that through your survey, through your fulfillment service. So like, again, we use BackerKit. And so even in BackerKit, you can still send them a link to that and they can like re-sign up for it. So all is not lost. And typically if someone wanted to back you and they stayed until the end, they typically still want to. It often is just like payment issues or something similar.
Yeah, maybe it's like, I really want to pay through PayPal, or I need to pay through Venmo or some other way. So here's a couple of things you can do in your survey. One is add people to your mailing list. You can't just get people on your mailing list who bought from you. You've got to they've got to actively opt into that. So this is one of the best things. I would say about 80% of people sign up for the mailing list or say they're already on it. And then here is something that I did, which I learned from a friend of mine, which was the holdback, which is I legitimately forgot that I had book plates for this campaign. Like I was going through pulling out everything that I had because I knew I needed to pull original art and yada, yada, yada. And I was like, oh my goodness, like I have these book plates. Like I sold them for $10. Like, why did I not remember to make this in the add-on? So I legitimately added all of these book plates and made, I think, like so close to $1,000 because they had my artist's signature, and my artist is from Argentina. He just does not, this is the only time anyone's ever been able to get him to sign anything. So it was a big one. And in BackerKit or Pledgebox like does this for you. But if you're using Kickstarter surveys, you can probably just say, let me know if you want, how many you want, and I can PayPal you at this address, something like that. You can say, here is the pre-order store, and I make a lot of money from our pre-order store at the end of a campaign. People going through and after their survey, they're brought to the pre-order store and they can add even more stuff. What's great is BackerKit at least has a digital download. So all the digital downloads are stored for me. I move them between one campaign and the next campaign. And like, they basically are a bunch of free money for me. It takes about 20 minutes for me to set everything up and like assign everything that I need to assign. But then like, I'm literally just like making money on this store without having to fulfill anything because BackerKit's done it for me. You can also do a in-demand campaign on Indiegogo. They have a thing you can just look up like in-demand Indiegogo, and you can move your campaign over there. I've made money on Indiegogo that way. Most importantly, like this is the kind of money we're talking about. People are like, oh, what do you make? $10, $20? No, we're talking about like real money, like 10% of a or more of a campaign sometimes. Not always, but like a lot of times it's 10 or more % of a campaign. So this was our campaign money. You want to talk about this?
Yeah, so this was kind of the answer to the question that we put at the beginning. So this is for a $21,500 campaign. We ended up raising another 1,800 in backer kit. It was probably, this screenshot is from like the beginning of this year. I'm sure it was more than that at this point because again, people just kept ordering. We had $820 in PayPal sales as well. So that was just people who were like, wait, it really ended. Like that was kind of a weird situation where I think people didn't understand that like when it ended, it was really going to end. So there were just people afterwards who wanted in still. The total was 2,654 and the total raise was 24,206. I think again, I think that was probably over 25,000 at this point. So really not like definitely over 15% extra, close to 20% extra, but not quite. So somewhere
Yeah.
between 10 to 20% extra. So
And this is not like a fluke either. Here are two of
no.
my campaigns. Most of my campaigns will raise at least 10%. If you can, and just the things that we showed you, and by optimizing it in that manner, like you can make maybe even more than that. Like we have people that raise a lot of money using all these optimizations, and 10, 15% is not like uncommon to do. I just had one of my biggest raises ever on a campaign that was not my biggest one ever. So I was really excited for that, using some of these strategies that like I just really started testing this year. So there's all sorts of stuff you can use to make money after the campaign is over. And this is something that if you're using Kickstarter surveys, or you're just like reading up about it, like they probably are not going to show you just how much money you can make. You could be putting up to 10% or more of your money. You could be like not optimizing because you haven't taken all of this stuff. So there's looks like a bunch of questions from the Q&A now. So do we want to answer some of them before we talk about the
Sure.
next step, or do we want to talk about the
Yeah.
next step?
Yeah, what do you want to just answer them at the end, or
Well, I mean,
it's
let's
up to
see.
you.
Are any of them?
Let's just bust through them.
Sure.
They're all fulfillment ones. So the first one, basic question: to ship print books internationally, do people commonly use Ingram to ship? Otherwise, I'd have to publish on KDP early. Yeah, I would not publish on KDP early. Yes, people do use Ingram to ship print books if you're going to drop ship. In that scenario, we often recommend just sending a book plate via something that you can sign, and that is in a flat mailer that you can ship much more affordably. But yeah, that is the way a lot of especially international creators have been creating their campaigns, just because a lot of Kickstarters backers tend to be in the US still. And you know, as more creators come on, that will change, and as more backers come on, that will change. But at the current time, that is the case.
Yeah, I
Do you want
mean,
to add to
also
that?
we print for Mixum, or we print
Right.
on, you can print on Lulu, you can print on Book Vault, like you can print almost, there's dozens of places. We have a whole vendor list
We have
in
a
the
vendor
course that
list.
shows you exactly like our approved vendors that we use, everywhere from offset printing down to like POD printing. And if you happen to have picked up our Get Your Book Selling on Kickstarter book, then that's printed through Mixum, and we really
Yeah,
like that.
it's a great sample if you own the book. But yeah, I would say if you live in the US, there's kind of no reason not to look around for printing, just because there's not really an obstacle there. So you can get books shipped to you, and then you can sign them directly, and then you can send them out, and like pack them and send them out. And I think and there are lots of different setups, but I think like you might want to explore beyond Ingram, beyond the PODs, the Ingram, so basically Ingram, Barnes and Noble, and KDP. And I would say if you're not going to use Ingram, then I would not use KDP. I would use BNN Press, because you do not have to publish to their platform in order to get print books. So that is another option as well.
Yeah, and for someone who, just going to go try and do one of these surveys so I can just show you. Okay, so a bunch of people about how the pre-order store works, like how most of these questions is like, how does BackerKit work? We cover that in the course. Like you can, BackerKit is a very, like, we're not selling BackerKit. Like it's just it's a thing you can do, but I will show you the survey part of this. It costs 2% of what you raise on a campaign. So this is from our last campaign. This is a test survey. So may I add you to our campaign? I'm going to skip this. Got it. And then it goes into your pre-order store. You can set this up on your own website too. Like you can add, just gonna add some stuff. Here's some stuff. I added some stuff. What is that? $30 of stuff. And then it asks you for your address. And then the payment information. So like that's what the pre-order store looks like. I think that's probably as simple as I can possibly make that. So hopefully that answers your question about the pre-order store through BackerKit. As I said, it takes about 10% of the money for your, 2% of the money that you raise on your campaign, but it can return you up to 10%. And there's all sorts of other stuff it does. Like that's just the money aspect. There's also ways that it helps, like with fulfillment and yada, 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 other things. And like, we literally go through all of BackerKit, all of Pirate Ship, all of that stuff in the course, but you can also go, and BackerKit has a lot of like online things, and they have very good customer service.
But I would also say, like, you know, if you're not sure what a pre-order store is, it's probably because you have not backed a Kickstarter campaign before. Just to, you know, just to be honest, like, probably backing a couple campaigns, especially campaigns of authors in the space, because a lot of us are using BackerKit and are doing pre-order stores, could be helpful just to kind of see what it is from a reader perspective, and just, you know, see also, like, I think it's really important to back campaigns for just the cycle to like better understand the psychology of Kickstarter, and see like what is exciting you about a project, what is exciting you about an upgrade, what is it, you know, like how are you getting upgraded, how are you backing to begin with, how are you interacting with the survey and the pre-order store and all that stuff. That is very, very important as you're exploring your own Kickstarter campaign. There's another question.
Yeah, I see. Some campaigns have audiences vote on what stretch goals should be next. I mean, yes, it's good, but you have to do the work to know what stretch goals. Anything you do to increase audience participation is good, but like you still have to do all of the work to know whether it's going to be profitable or not for you. So like a lot of people want really expensive things that are not feasible to make. And honestly, the more you make, the less feasible it is. So like, for instance, putting a map that you can't ship inside of a book, like, it's really a cool idea, but like that adds thousands of dollars to a campaign, potentially adding shirts or whatever other stuff. So like, yes, participation is good, but what the course and what you have to do in the budgeting part of this, no matter if you use the course or not, is like understand like how profitable something is and how well it scales. Because like I said, a lot of things which are fine if you have 3 people, like I don't mind coming out of pocket to buy 3 mugs, like, but I certainly don't want to buy 3,000 mugs. And so a lot of these things like break down at scale during a campaign.
Yes, I agree. All right, so
awesome. So you guys ready to hear how we can help you if you are overwhelmed right now, which may be happening. Hopefully you have the hopefully you've had the eye-opening realization of like, wow, I could make a lot of money on Kickstarter. There's all of these ways that I can like improve my campaign. But wow, it's possibly a lot. So we want to go through and just show you some things that we can do to help you through our program, the Kickstarter Accelerator. Monica, take it away.
Yes. Okay. So this is an introduction to the Kickstarter Accelerator. If you want to just look at the page, you can totally do that. It's at kickstartyournovel.com/buy. So definitely, I would say write that down, but we're probably going to email this link to you at some point. But definitely check this out now if you're on on the call still, because you can see like what this offer is all about. I'm going to go through sections of it now. So basically, when you join the Kickstarter Accelerator, there are 4 parts to the program. The first one is campaign design. So that is kind of everything leading up to the pre-launch. So how do you get your Kickstarter campaign approved? Like, how do you get it, how do you get it through that early part? How do you design reward tiers? How do you design your story? What should you even do as a Kickstarter campaign? All of those questions are answered in month 1 for campaign design. The second month is all about the pre-launch marketing. So we showed you a couple of the Kickstarter mechanisms like the pre-launch page and the preview and all that, all those pieces. What we didn't show you was what emails you should be sending. We didn't show you how to get your readers excited. We didn't show you how to transition your readers from what they typically do, which is buy on a retailer, to coming over here. Or even if you don't have readers, or if you're trying to build a readership, we didn't really talk about like how to market your Kickstarter campaign or how to find people to follow your Kickstarter campaign. So that's all in month 2. Month 3, we talk about the launch, the dead zone, and the last days. So we covered a lot of, basically touched on a lot of those topics here, but we go way deeper in the program about like what that launch trajectory should look like. How do you match up your marketing to the launch trajectory? We talked about 3 things in this presentation. With the dead zone, we have a list of like 12 to 15 things in the program. And we also talk about how to do it, because a lot of it is done over email. A lot of it is done through copywriting. So then we talk about the last days as well in this, and some of the things we touched on, but also we just go a lot deeper in the program. And then month 4, we talk about fulfillment. And so all of this is available to you right when you come into the program. So there's not actually like a guided tour of it. There's not actually months, or it's not like you get the fulfillment stuff on the 4th month. But this is kind of the recommendation of how we recommend that you go into your first campaign and how you would budget your timeline. So month 1, we recommend just getting a feel for Kickstarter, setting up your Kickstarter, all that stuff. Month 2, the pre-launch marketing. Month 3 is your actual launch. So if you were to sign up today, we would recommend you launch in February, basically. If you were to start, if you kind of are on the program in December. And then month 4, after your campaign ends, that's when you would be doing fulfillment. Let me go deeper into this. So month 1, we teach you how to choose a profitable project, how to set a budget, and we have several budget worksheets in the program for you. It's one of our most popular things. It really sorts you out and makes sure that you are profitable in your campaign before you even launch. We teach you how to research vendors, and we also have a vendor list. Figuring out reward tiers, this is a huge one. People often get very stuck on this, but we have lots and lots of training to get you through that. How do you write the story on your Kickstarter page and explain your campaign with clarity? How you add images, how you do the video. We didn't have time to touch on a lot of that in this. I should probably stop talking and see if Russell, if you want to add anything to this.
I usually just like, let's just show up this page, the curriculum. Like that's
Sure.
usually like the best thing to do. I'm going to show up the second screen. So like, this is the actual page our curriculum is on. So this is not what you'll see, but like this is the back end because it's just easier to look at. So we have tools, work for hire templates, VIP call examples, vendor lists, all the things from our 5-day challenge, which starts on Monday, which we talked about, the introductory topics. We have this one thing that says like the essential build. So if you just want to be like, I'm overwhelmed, where do I start? Like this is me building a campaign from scratch and showing you everything that like every little piece of this from beginning to end.
Yeah, and those are the core 7 videos that the program started with. So back when we started this on our Kickstarter campaign, these 7 videos were $100 basically, and these were the core. But since then, it's just expanded significantly.
Yeah, after this, we had about 5 million questions that people asked. And so we went from these videos to a bunch of videos. And so now we go and we like break down each section. So planning your campaign, how to create a campaign people want to back. I did another campaign for an audio drama. So a lot of people ask me about audiobooks. So how to set up sort of an audiobook campaign. Monica talks about like fears and moving past your fears and goal setting. And then she also talks about setting up a nonfiction campaign, and it's a lot. There's a lot of videos here, but our goal is that we have the main videos and then we supplement them. How to justify premium pricing, pre-marketing your campaign, launch basics, just how to launch the literal pre-marketing email sequence that I use, the launch sequence that I use, how to build out graphics, how to create tracking pixels, what to do with your so all of these things that will not be relevant also until like they are very relevant to you.
Right.
How to make a case for your book, how to plan your launch year, how to set daily goals, stretch goals, sideways sales letters, how to do your marketing. It just keeps going on and on. How many unsubscribes you first expect? How do you deal with canceled pledges? How do you deal with objections, case studies? Fulfilling your campaign, all the stuff we said about backer kit walkthroughs, Kickstarter surveys, how to get your surveys right, how to do a debrief, like it just keeps going. Pirate Ship simple export rate, how to ship books, and then also just paid presentations we've done in the past, student mentoring. So what's wrong with my campaigns? What kind of campaign should I even do? How do I get my campaign to be better? All this stuff. How do you rapidly improve a campaign? So for some of you, you probably have a campaign that's going now. And like we did this video that literally took Craig from $2,000 to $5,500 by the end of his campaign. And he's also one of our tech people. And so he can also answer some questions there.
Yeah.
But there's just like, I don't think that the thing that we show always exemplifies just like, it does a good job of talking about what we do, but like there is an answer for just about anything. And if there's not an answer, like there's a circle and a Facebook community to give you answers. But we don't want to overwhelm you. So like really, literally, we have had people use these 7 videos.
Yeah, this is what you watch, and then you try your Kickstarter campaign, and then you search for the rest.
It's basically, this is your guide. And then you're like, what about this thing? And like, then there's probably an answer for that here. In fact, I just loaded one today because people asked, it was what percentage of project followers should convert into backers. So people, I just made that video today. I try to add like a video a week, even though like even though there are a million videos in here already, there's so always like one thing that people ask that is on people's mind. And so we keep recording and keep doing this until it's probably going to end up being like a 40+ hour course. But really, legitimately, we have had people go through just these videos and have a very successful campaign. It's just that we wanted you to have a more successful campaign, and we couldn't do that without adding more to it.
All right, so I am going to go back to this just to finish this out. Let me see. Oh, okay. I don't even remember what was in here. Oh, all right. So this is everything in the first campaign design. Actually, I missed a couple of these. Okay, this one is avoid costly decisions. So you start to save money in your campaign right at the beginning by not creating unprofitable tiers. So creating profitable tiers and just designing your project well, basically. So this is one of our people, Jamie Davis, who did a campaign. He originally wanted to do I think it was omnibuses with like 3 omnibuses with a slipcase. Priced it out, realized that that was a terrible idea. He was gonna need at least $5,000 to do that. We did have somebody actually do that campaign, and they were very successful. And obviously, Jamie, he ended up raising $6,400, so he would have been fine on it, but yeah, he decided not to bite off that much, and instead he just did 3 hardcover editions, and this turned out really well for him. This was backlist for him, and so it was an easy campaign, and he made an extra $6,500, probably more. So just keep in mind, you can also, if you have any questions about this, you can drop them in the comment or drop them in the Q&A still. Month 2, we help you figure out how to get your pre-launch page, find story threads, write emails, set up your full launch schedule, estimate your launch numbers, and schedule and book everything you need. We did this for our friend Claire. She had a book called Reclaim Your Author Career, and it ended up raising over $25,000. One of the things she said to me personally is she was like, I actually listened to you and Russell. I did not try to reinvent the wheel as I wanted to, probably because she's kind of a trailblazer. So she did not reinvent the wheel, and it turned out well. And so she was really excited about this, and she's doing another campaign now, her second campaign. Month 3 is launch. So do all the things during launch week that you're supposed to do, tracking your numbers and adjusting your marketing plan. This is something that we see in the group quite often, you know, like, hey, it's like my 3rd day. I hit my goal, or sometimes I didn't hit my goal. What do I do next? I'm hitting a dead zone, like that sort of thing. And so we really try to help you get back on track during launch week if you are not, or sometimes like, this campaign is going really well. We had that from Sarah Rosette. She was like, this campaign is going way better than I thought. And so she was like, how do I kind of maximize my efforts here? Figuring out what to stay in the dead zone, bringing home the last days to hit your goals. We had another author, Tanya Hales. This is her first campaign. She ended up hitting almost $10,000, and it was she had a lot of questions, I would say. She also just had a lot of like worry, I would say, throughout the campaign about different things, but it ended up doing really well. And we kind of like, another thing we kind of do is, you know, you may experience a lot of emotions during your campaign. So there's a whole group of people who are really good about like being supportive and kind, and also kind of talking you off the ledge and like helping you back into reality when maybe you're feeling scared or feeling like something is going wrong. A lot of times we'll be like, well, the data shows that it's actually okay.
Yeah. And also, like, when whether you're doing well or not doing well, there's a huge group of people that are like there to support you and share your campaigns and like be there with you.
People will jump in and say like, oh, I'll share it in my newsletter, I'll swap with you. People are really, really nice in there, and we all just want everyone to be successful. So month 4 is fulfillment. We help you set up a fulfillment service. We use BackerKit again. You saw all the things and how we help you. Setting up add-ons and promoting a pre-order store. This is like, it's not rocket science, but it feels like rocket science. So we show you like just exactly how to do it. You do not want to figure this out on your own, I promise you. Printing your books and other rewards. We just help you avoid lots of mistakes. Avoiding delays, losing money, making other mistakes. Basically at fulfillment, it's kind of like the clock, like I don't say the clock is ticking, but it's really like you have a certain amount of money and it's only going down as you fulfill things, because you have to pay for the things as you go. So we try to keep it going down only to the smallest amount. Basically is how I would describe that. Setting up shipping and packaging easily, closing out your campaign well. All right, so it's at kickstartyournovel.com/buy if you want to go check out the accelerator. It is $999. There's also a 12-month payment plan of $99. And again, when you sign up on the payment plan, you will get access right away, so you can start doing your Kickstarter campaign. And a lot of people, they will do their Kickstarter campaign within the first 3 months. They will fund well, and then they will take a portion of that and just finish out their payments on the program. So it's a really good option for you if you're doing that.
You want to take the chat for a minute and try and figure this out for the person who's in there, who's asking about the thing. I want to show you 2 things while she's doing that.
What am I doing?
You see the webinar chat? Look at the last thing in the webinar chat. All right, I'm going to come back over here and show you just one of the cool things you have access to that's only for people who are in the course, which is our indie creator pool, which is all sorts of books that you can use. We have a one in, as many out as you want policy, which is if you offer one of your books, you can use all of these books that are through here throughout your campaign, either comics or novels. We used to have this open for everyone. We closed it off once we had like so many books in there to only people that are in the course. You can see like a lot of different sci-fi, fantasy. There's romance, children's books, horror, nonfiction, coloring books. So even if you have no audience, you automatically kind of have a maybe not an audience, but like a whole bunch of ways that you can find and nurture an audience. Also want to talk about the VIP offer and some of the bonuses that you get. So there are several bonuses that you get for joining the program. The first one is my course, How to Build an Audience from Scratch. And then we have a budget template in the course, but there's another budget template that you get for joining as well. You get digital copy of Get Your Book Selling on Kickstarter in PDF, which we don't offer anywhere else, the PDF version. And if you pay in full, you get 2 additional bonuses. The first is my 2 solo books and audiobooks, How to Become a Successful Author and How to Build a Creative Career. And then this is probably our #1 bonus that is requested, and people literally buy the course just for this, which is my copy vault, which is I sent 2 campaigns to Monica. And those 2 campaigns, and that includes literally every email that I sent throughout the course of my last launch of that. And so she cleaned it up, she made it pretty, and she's sending it to you. They're literally all of the campaigns and prompts, so you can use basically exactly what I did to model what you should do for your campaign. And then we have, if we get to special 50 new students, we're going to do a group coaching call in January, which will be very exciting. On top of that, we have a really cool VIP offer. The first is our direct sales accelerator. So this is at the $19.99 level, which is an upgrade. You get the direct sales accelerator and the Go Wide, Grow Wide incubator for 1 year. So you get the direct sales accelerator for the lifetime, and then the Go Wide, Grow Wide, our incubator for 1 year. The direct sales accelerator is basically taking everything that you learn on Kickstarter and applying it to direct sales pages, web stores, conventions, all the ways that you can do direct sales. And that includes 6 weeks of group coaching calls, or really just 6 coaching calls. We kind of have because it's such a complicated system, we like to do direct sales, kind of made that 6 months, not as much 6 weeks. We talk about website sales, constructing sales funnels, convention sales, email lists, ads, ad sequences, scaling your audience, and a whole bunch more. Additionally, group mentorship for direct students. And I'm telling you, direct sales is way more complicated than Kickstarter sales. So you're going to really want that group mentorship to show you how to not fail, because there's so many optimizations that you have to do with direct sales to make it work. On top of that, you get $3,000 of self-study courses, including Build a Rabid Fan Base, How to Build an Audience. I think it's called now Build a Super Fandom, How to Build an Audience from Scratch, Creating Profitable Facebook Ads, Running Viral Builders, running a Kickstarter anthology, plus Monica's author mindset course, book launch, copywriting, list building for authors. It's basically a syllabus for how to do direct sales. And we decided to just put all of our best stuff in there. I'm not kidding when I say it's $3,000 of stuff. People have paid us $3,000, the 2 of us separately, for being in that course. Being in those courses. Then on top of that, for that VIP offer, you get our Go Wide, Grow Wide incubator, which includes basically it's 12 months of how to optimize all of the major stores. So Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Google Play, Kobo, and Apple. And then there's a couple of direct sales ones on special offers, and there's one other, and then all of the ad platforms. So Amazon, BookBub, and Facebook, and it's all focused on specifically like how to do this wide. You would not think there are 5 to 8 hours every month of things to add, but Monica, who was recording this month's, I think she said like this week, can tell you that there is just so many optimizations that you can do. And then on top of that, there are so many platforms that like I literally watched like 5 hours of videos on maybe more on Barnes and Noble last month, and I was like, there's no way you could have this much about Barnes and Noble. But yeah, I mean, she does it every month, and a lot of the ads courses are focused on KU, and this is really about like wide and having success on these retailers while you're wide. And because it's an incubator, not an accelerator, it's one of those that like the information is doled out in bite-sized morsels. So you don't have 30 hours of 30 hours of course material to deal with. And I'm going to talk specifically to, I just clicked on all of these links and they all work for me. So we're trying to
we'll figure it out, but I've also clicked on them like a bunch. So that one, yeah, so that should work. But
that said,
if you're having, yeah, go ahead.
No,
I
no.
would, I would just say if you're having issues with the links, because we have had a couple people say that they've had issues, or like they're just seeing something closed, or whatever it might be. If you go to kickstartyournovel.com/buy, those links definitely work. If you're coming through an affiliate, like then definitely like let us try to get you the right affiliate link. If you just tell us who you're coming through, but then if you can't, we can put you down on a sheet and just say like, okay, you're coming through this person, because we do have a couple affiliates for this, and we want to, like, mostly people who have taken the program and support it. And so if you found us through them, we do want you to want to make sure that their link is credited if you were trying to click through their link. So I just wanted to say that.
Yes.
What else, Russell?
I think that's basically it. Do we have any questions that came in aside from that over
there is
last?
one.
Yeah.
Okay, between the knowledge base you're offering and the time it takes to set everything up, how much time should we be prepared to commit for a first timer? So I would say the core videos in that course are probably like 5 to 7 hours of training, maybe less. You can also listen on like 1.5 or 2, which a lot of people do, to get that. And then to set up your first Kickstarter campaign, I would budget max 10 hours. I know Russell does his in like 2 to 3 hours or less. I probably am at like 5 or 6 to get my campaign set up, but I also do mine more over time. So I'll do like the basic campaign when I first set it up so that I can get the pre-launch page, and then over time I'll just kind of like keep making that campaign better and adding pieces to it. So you can do it that way too. Do you want to add anything, Russell?
No, I think that, I mean, we specifically want you to do like a base model campaign at first, so you can see if you even like it or if your fans like it. So we want you to do a campaign that is like takes less than a day of total, including like your setting up your marketing and everything. So I'm not saying like you'll do it all in one day, but like you'll probably over the course of a week or two spend somewhere at the maximum 2 full like work days putting all of this stuff together, and learning all of those things. It usually takes a month because like people don't download 30 hours or something into their brain in like one day, nor would we even want to. So yeah, that's, I would say you can set it up. Yeah, I mean, I think you can set it up in at most 2 days of like work, like 10 to 12 hours. But Yeah, it may take you longer to watch the videos and such, but whenever I do a course, I like when I work out, or walk, I like listen to all of that stuff, and then I let it process, and then like it comes out. So
Sure.
um, so yeah, I mean, I don't want you to create a campaign that requires you to have 40 hours of work in it, because then you're not going to do it. And then you're going to be way committed to it and need to get like a big goal. We want you to do this and see that it is attainable and fun. So you keep doing it, because Kickstarter is a renewable resource.
All right. So if a campaign doesn't get funded, it will fail. Well, kind of. You can always rerun it again at no additional cost. Usually it succeeds on the second time because you've learned something. Okay. Is there a disadvantage to just lowballing your campaign and then adding stretch goals once it's funded? That is what we recommend. We don't want you to lowball your campaign. We want you to set the amount that you actually need to do the project and to complete the project. But for most authors, that is pretty low, because you are not having to do prototypes, or like probably you've already like paid for your editing and all that stuff. So the amount that you need to finish the book should be, we always just give the estimate of like $500 per book in the campaign. So you want to add anything, Russell?
No, that's about exactly what I was going to say, which is that it needs yeah, like $500 is the number that we say you probably will be able to get. Like it probably is enough of maybe a leap forward for you, but you probably will hit it. I've not seen anyone in our program raise less than $700.
I'm not either.
But like on Kickstarter, you pretty much are going to get that you're probably going to get 500. Like you'll find enough people. The average pledge is between $25 and $50, and so if you find 10 people who give you $50, like that's probably a very attainable number. That's where that $500 came from. And then there's all sorts of stretch goals that you can add to, like, or like daily rewards or things you can add to kind of to add to that, to go to the person who's having an issue. I just tested it on like 4 browsers and 4 things. So you may want to clear your cache if you are doing that. Or like I said, I'm very happy to send you to our tech people, or have you just get it and then like credit the affiliate later as well. Like we want this to be easy for you. We definitely want everyone to get the money that they deserve. But yeah, if you are like, we want you to fund in the first day, because not funding in that first day or that first week makes things very arduous for you. And like the anxiety builds every day. Even if you're in the middle of a campaign that's funded, the anxiety builds. So we absolutely want to make sure that like we take that out of consideration. Especially because most authors are then going to launch their books on Amazon right before the I just lost my train of thought. But yes, we want you, long story short, we want you to succeed and then be able to say, I love this, and then do it again. And we have an accelerator newbie who I know just came into the course, because we've been dealing with them, and says, the support in the forums and Facebook group is amazing. Everyone's so welcoming. This was definitely a great decision, and I'm finally more excited about versus scared of Kickstarter. So thank you both, and thank you so much for taking a chance. I know Kickstarter is a brand new thing, and it is scary, but we do really want it to be fun, because I think, to me, Kickstarter is the most fun way to launch a product, because like you're getting all of your fans excited, like you're celebrating like the thing, you're celebrating goals. You see the actual people funding and buying, not just like little spikes and bar graphs. So not that I like me a bar graph, but like I prefer to see the actual people who are buying from me. And this is, to me, the most fun way to do that and still make a lot of money and break even on your launch.
Yeah, welcome, Becky. I want to answer this question in the Q&A. How much time do you find you spend one-on-one with someone on their first Kickstarter? I'm thinking personalization / individualization. That's definitely, we would consider that a separate product, so that would be consulting with us. We, like, one-on-one is kind of a hard thing because it does, like, basically all of our support comes from either our tech team, our actual team can support you, but then also if you're talking about mentorship from us, it's all group support and it's all text-based only. So we don't get on the phone with you as part of this program. We have, you know, all the videos, and like the videos work for like basically everybody who uses them, who actually does them, to get them through all their questions for the campaign. We do mentorship in the group. And so what you would do is you would post your question or post a link to your campaign or whatever it is, and then we will respond. We respond very quickly. Russell responds like honestly within an hour, like I'd say like 75% of the time. I respond a little bit slower than that. It's rare that I'm the first one to respond. I'm often the second. But yeah, we respond within a couple days for sure. And we will give you our thoughts, and you can ask, as it's unlimited questions. You can ask as many questions as you want in the group. We don't get on the phone with you unless you decide to go that route. And even if you want to do consulting, we do pretty much recommend you do the course anyway, because the course works really well, basically. What do you want to
Yeah,
add to
or
that,
at least
Russell?
do, yeah, I was just saying most people that do consulting with us do the course, set up their campaign, and then like they'll be like, I want you to walk me through what I need to know to make this even more successful. And
Yeah.
then that's a thing that we can do either, you know, one-on-one or
Hmm.
two-on-one, depending on what you want to do. If you're asking though, like, how much time do you have to spend with your backers to get them to buy? I do it mostly all through email. Most of the time, people's comments are, if I get this tier, does it include this? And that takes me 5 minutes to do, maybe less than 5 minutes. Like, the high end tiers usually don't even get like, you know, I mean, every once in a while, then maybe one of 100 packages that I send out like have an error in them or a problem that need to be resolved. I think I just sent 300, 400 packages and had 12 or so that needed to have extra things. And a lot of those were like, oh, I meant to pick this book, but like I actually got this book. So there's a lot of that goes on as well. Like, I would say customer service is a very small part of the campaign, but it is the sort of the I don't want to say the I mean it's like the thing that separates it from Amazon is that you get to personalize it, like you're giving personal attention. So I always say, like, you don't have to do this, you get to do this. Like, you get to communicate with your client, with your fans, you get to like have this experience with them, and you get to like fulfill for them. And all of those things can be very fun. In a mindset thing, I understand that some people do not have the ability to do that either physically or mentally or just time-wise. And we do have a fulfillment expert in the group who can help you. There are fulfillment houses that can do it for you. You can hire somebody to come to your house and do that. You know, I hire like a fan to come to my house and like help me pack, fan and a friend to help me pack. People do like pizza parties, all these ways that you can get around that. But yeah, like, so depend.
Kickstarter campaigns are the new moving.
Yeah, exactly. Like, and like most of my friends do like pizza parties when they like do packing parties. Like, they'll have like, especially if they do anthologies, they'll be like, hey, everyone come over and like pack, and I'll buy food and we'll sign the books. And it's like whole fun
It's
experience.
kind of
So
fun.
yeah,
That's
so
more fun than moving someone's house.
yes, absolutely. And so if your question is, do we do consulting? Our answer is like, we
Limited.
will text in the group. We will answer every question that comes in, either in the Facebook group or the Circle community. if your answer is like, do you have to do like one-on-one? Like very rarely over the course of a 30-day campaign, I prep almost everything. And the only things that I like do in real time are like Facebook Lives if I do them. I don't generally do them. We are pretty good about not having things run our lives, Monica and I both.
Well, we've gotten bad about it, but we're going to be good about it again. We were very good about it up until I think September, when we finally just completely overloaded our schedules. But we are going to be better about it in 2023. So
yes, so I do not think this will overtake your life. It can.
No, it won't.
I mean, it can if you like, but especially if you use our support and you go through all the things that we talk about, like it won't take over your life, because like our goal is that you do a bunch of them and like to have a great have great fun, and like it's a whole new revenue stream, and like it's just not very easy to make a new revenue stream if like it is more taxing than it is profitable.
Yeah, and I think with a new revenue stream, you're always kind of like starting at the beginning. But we also, I mean, we've seen people who do this and like they've done like 2 or 3 campaigns this year, and they made like 35K on Kickstarter just this year from those multiple campaigns. We also I think a number, so like that's like kind of on the high end. On the lower end, we see people who are doing it and they've legitimately added 7K to their business for 2022, to their author business. And so that was across a couple different campaigns that each raised, 2,500, 5,000, or 2,500, 3,000, and then like 1,000 or something, something like that. But we've talked to multiple people who have done that. And that's kind of, I don't want to say the more typical result. I think it's a good result if the person has like a smaller audience. But like that's huge. And that's like been life-changing for them. And then we've also seen the other end of it, where the person is very successful and has a huge audience and has done very, very well on their first Kickstarter campaign just because of their huge audience.
Yeah, absolutely.
There are more. No. We answered all the questions. So last chance for questions. We are going to try to sign off if we can. Is that correct?
We will get our try and find out for anyone that has a tech issue, support@writermba.com. Otherwise we will have we'll get in touch and get this person sorted out if they can't get their thing. But we have now tested it on, I've tested it on my phone, my mobile, and like 2 browsers, and it seems to be working now. So if not, I would say clear your cache and try again, or email us, and we'll get it fixed up for you. We probably will throw in something for your trouble as well if you're having trouble. So
I wanted to just do this once. So if you're still on the line, type into the chat if you are going to do a Kickstarter campaign or not. I just want to know how many people on the chat are like, yes, I'm definitely doing a campaign now. Or you can also be like, no, I'm definitely not doing a campaign now. But if so, I'm not sure why you would still be on the call, because like it's been a while. So yeah, so we're seeing yes, probably crunching the numbers. I want to, but I'm scared. Audiobooks, want to do an audiobook campaign. Yes. Got 1 going, 3 more in the works. I'm going to research if my genre will work, young adult romance. It will work for all genres. We actually have another thing about that. So if you go to kickstartyournovel.com /replay, you can see our other presentation, which is who should be using Kickstarter. And that might help you. Need to get book ready to go, need to set up a website. Awesome. Yes, assisting with a couple other Kickstarter campaigns. Very cool. So it sounds like everybody on here is doing a campaign, which is exciting.
Absolutely. And especially if you're going to do an audiobook campaign, like I really highly recommend you at least you seriously consider taking our course, because like audio is a not mature medium on Kickstarter, but we have a bunch of ways that we have found that like can get you funding for an audiobook, even if you know, we don't want you to like, even if, and one of the campaigns that I did in the group, in the course, actually is an audiobook or the audio drama campaign, but we actually go through really, really, really in detail how to set that kind of thing up.
Yeah, so someone's setting up a theater production. That's very
Awesome.
cool. We're waiting for you. I won't say your name on the recording, but we're waiting and excited. All right, I think we're done then. So we'll sign off. There will be a replay. Let me stop the recording. It was nice to meet everybody. Thank you for coming.